You. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa barak ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. So welcome everyone. Thank you all for coming and participating in another installment of our weekly series studying the sermon, where we, as you all know, we revisit the day's sermon. We talk about the topic in a little bit additional detail and offer you, the audience, the opportunity to contribute to the discussion in a meaningful way. That could be through questions, that could be through sharing an anecdote or two, your own experience with the topic, could be critiquing the khutbah or some other meaningful contribution. And the title of the sermon today is, or was, in every ayah, a lesson of Allah. All right? Or in every ayah, we could say, in every ayah you find Allah. Basically, the main idea was basically to say that every verse in the Quran teaches us about Allah and His Tawheed, particularly Tawheed al-Ibadah. It seems like every verse is an invitation to worship Allah Jalla wa Ala and to validate His right to be worshipped alone without any partners or associates. So you're going to find this in every verse in the Quran, without exception. And all we need to do in order to find it is to, one, pay better attention as we read, to read attentively, and secondly, to read with a tadabbur, to read reflectively and thoughtfully. That you just can't just read the words, you've got to reflect upon the meanings, the ma'ani. And what is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala teaching us? What are madlulat al-ayat wa mutadamminat al-ayat al-akhirin. So what we'll do is we'll kind of recap and just pick up a few phrases and passages from the khutbah and expand on those. So we mentioned at the outset, we said one of the primary functions of the Quran is to teach us about Allah. And that is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the center of religion. And believing in Allah is the foundation of faith. And you can't believe in something that you don't know. So in order for us to believe in Allah correctly, we have to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the only one who can tell us with any accuracy who Allah is and what He does and what He likes and what He doesn't like and how He should be described is who? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Himself. We said that there are some Quranic verses and some passages and some chapters that are dedicated to this purpose, dedicated to the purpose of telling us about Allah. And we mentioned, for example, min al-ayat, ayat al-kursi, the 255th verse of Surah al-Baqarah. An ayah, the whole ayah, is asma'ullahi wa sifatihi wa da'wati ila ibadati. His names, His attributes, and inviting us to worship Him. Then you have awa'il Surah al-Hadid. Surah al-Hadid is the 57th chapter of the Quran. And in the opening of that surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes Himself in great detail. And then you have some surah, some chapters which are entirely dedicated to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describing Himself to us and telling us about Himself. And we gave the example of Surah Al-Ikhlas, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ اللَّهُ الصَّمَدُ لَمْ يَلِدْ وَلَمْ يُولَدْ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. And these verses and passages and surah that we mentioned, they tell us about Allah, they describe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But additionally, they give us principles, maxims, that govern our understanding of Allah. And this is very, very important too. So as we reflect on these verses, passages, and chapters, we need to reflect about what Allah is telling us about dawabit, asma'i wa sifati, or qawa'id, asma'i wa sifati, the rules and regulations that govern how we understand and apply the names of Allah. So for example, we go to Ayat al-Kursi. One of the things Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us is, He says, وَلَا يُحِيطُونَ بِشَيْءٍ مِنْ عِلْمِهِ إِلَّا بِمَا شَاءَ. He says, and they cannot encompass any of the knowledge of Him except what He wills. Obviously, that can be interpreted in two ways. One is They cannot encompass the knowledge he has, his knowledge. And the other interpretation, and both of them are valid, is they cannot encompass any of the knowledge of him. They know nothing about him except what he chooses to tell them. So that being said, that gives us a qa'idah. That tells us something about, it gives us a rule or a maxim that governs how we understand the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wa asma'ihi wa sifatihi, his names and his attributes. Does anybody have an idea what we should take away from that in terms of a qa'idah, a maxim or principle that governs the names of Allah? He says, وَلَا يُحِيطُونَ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنْ عِلْمِهِ إِلَّا بِمَا شَاءَ. They do not know anything about him. They cannot encompass any of the knowledge of him except what he wills.
If you only say about Allah, describe Allah or what he has described himself, or what the Prophet has described.
Jazakallah khair. So what Hatim said is exactly right. Asma'illahi wa sifatihi tawqifiyya. La majala fiha lil-aql. That basically Allah is telling us that his names and his attributes are something that the only way to know anything about them is through divine revelation. There is no role for the intellect in determining what are Allah's names and attributes. And this is one of the ways that we're very different from the Christians. Any of you who have associated with Christians, you have classmates, you have colleagues who are Christians, you hear them say things that are indicative that they give Allah names and attributes which he has not given himself. They take it upon themselves to make assumptions about God. They say, well, God speaks. And if God speaks, he must have a mouth. So you'll hear him say things like, from God's mouth to your ears. Y'all see that? But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hasn't said that. So Muslims, they do what they call a tawaqquf. Somebody says, does Allah have a mouth? To a Muslim. A Muslim says, Allah didn't say he did. He also didn't say he didn't. So we say what? Allah knows best. We don't know. We don't attribute to Allah that which he didn't attribute to himself. Because why? وَلَا يُحِيطُونَ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنْ عِلْمِهِ إِلَّا بِمَا شَاءَ. They don't know nothing about him except what he chooses to what? To tell them. So we can't speak. If we speak upon them, it would be violating the command of Allah where he says, وَلَا تَقْفُ مَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٌ. Don't claim knowledge. Don't claim or speak about things of which you have no knowledge. طيب. Let's look at the chapter Al-Ikhlas and how it gives us a principle or gives us certain principles. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts the surah by saying, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. Say he is Allah, the unique, the soul, the unique. The soul, the unique. So what does that tell you about Allah? What principle does it give you? A principle that's affirmed elsewhere in the Quran, and in fact affirmed at the end of the same surah, min bab at-ta'kid. What is it telling you, Mumtaz. And so if there's nothing like him, right? If there's nothing like him, that means anything that occurs to me in my mind that I think is God, I know that it can't be God. God is not like anything you've seen, not like anything you've heard of, and not like anything you can humanly imagine. Y'all see that? There's nothing like him. Nothing like him. So these are things that, God is teaching us not just who he is and what names he should be called by and how he should be described, what he does, what he likes, what he doesn't like, but also giving us principles by which we can determine how to interpret, how to understand, and how to believe in his names in the correct way. The thing by that, we said that there are other examples in the Quran of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala teaching us about himself, but they're less conspicuous. They're not like these verses and passages and chapters which are very direct in their messaging. But those verses, a lot of times, where it's not obvious that Allah is talking about himself, those are some of the verses that teach us the most about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We can learn so much about Allah if we do what? Again, as we said, if we read them thoughtfully and reflectively. They teach us a great deal about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They describe him in great detail, and they confirm and affirm and establish and stress that he is the only deity worthy of worship. And to this point that basically every ayah points to the Tawheed of Allah, is something that I'm going to share with you a passage from Ibn al-Qayyim, from a book, from one of his works. And he said, كل آية في القرآن فهي متضمنة للتوحيد شاهدة به وداعية إليه. فإن القرآن إما خبر عن الله وأسمائه وصفاته وأفعاله فهو التوحيد العلمي الخبري، وإما دعوة إلى عبادته وحده لا شريك له وخلق كل ما يعبد من دونه فهو التوحيد الإرادي الطلبي. So he said every verse in the Quran comprises monotheism, attests to it, and calls to it. Every verse in the Quran. And Ibn Abil Izz al-Hanafi, he said something similar to that in his commentary on At-Tahawiyah. That this is not something like fringe. This is what the scholars say. A person reads the Quran, every ayah is going to what? Is going to contain Tawheed. Kayfa dhalik, he said, for the Quran's verses either consist of information regarding Allah, His names, His attributes, and His actions, which constitutes the knowledge-based theoretical monotheism. Or its verses consist of a call to worship Him alone, without any partner, and to renounce everything worshipped besides Him, which constitutes the practical, applied monotheism. Then he expands on that. He says, وَإِمَّا أَمْرٌ وَنَهْيٌ وَإِلْزَامٌ بِطَاعَتِهِ فِي نَهْيِهِ وَأَمْرِهِ فَهِي حُقُوقُ التَّوْحِيدِ ومكملاته. وإما خبر عن كرامة الله لأهل توحيده وطاعته وما فعل بهم في الدنيا ويكرمهم به في الآخرة فهو جزاء توحيده. وإما خبر عن أهل الشرك وما فعل بهم في الدنيا من النكال وما يحل بهم في العقبة من العذاب فهو خبر عمن خرج عن حكم التوحيد. So then he says, he expands on that and he says, or its verses consist of commands and prohibitions and the obligation to obey Him and to comply with whatever He requires and forbids, which constitutes the entitlements of monotheism and its completers, the things that complete a Tawheed. Or its verses represent an account of the honor Allah bestowed upon the people of monotheism and obedience, detailing what He has done for them in this world and the honors He will confer upon them in the hereafter, which clarifies the reward for monotheism. Or, he says, its verses provide an account concerning the people of idolatry, detailing the various punishments He inflicted upon them in this world and the torment that awaits them in the hereafter, which clarifies the consequences of deviating from monotheism. Then he closes by saying, فَالْقُرْآنُ كُلُّهُ فِي التَّوْحِيدِ وَحُقُوقِهِ وَجَزَائِهِ وَفِي شَأْنِ الشِّرْكِ وَأَهْلِهِ وَجَزَائِهِمْ. He says, so consequently, the entire Quran preaches monotheism, its rights and its recompense, or addresses its opposite, idolatry, those guilty of it, and their penalty. So then after that, after we got past the opening, we said, listen, I'm telling you, you can just snag any ayah, any verse. And I said, I'm gonna just snag one out of the air. And the reason why I picked this one is because I was reviewing this week, and I'm reading it, and I just sat with it for a second, and I said, Allahu Akbar. Look at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala teaching us Tawheed in a verse that you would never think is about Tawheed. Then that's the verse from Surah Al-Zukhruf, the 33rd ayah, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, I don't think it's 33rd ayah, it's earlier in the surah than that. Al-Muhim, it's from Surah Al-Zukhruf, and I believe it's on the first page. Al-Muhim, He says, وَلَوْلَا أَن يَكُونَ النَّاسَ أُمَّةً وَاحِدَةً لجعلنا لمن يكفر بالرحمن لبيوتهم سقفا من فضة ومعارج عليها يظهرون. He says, were it not that the people might become one community united in their disbelief, we would have made roofs of the homes of those who disbelieve in Ar-Rahman of silver, and likewise given them silver staircases to ascend. So we said that this verse, we said in the khutbah that this verse describes Allah, it speaks of Allah and describes Him in 5 ways. And you guys know that I'm, getting up in age and I don't have the greatest memory. And so I say something in the khutbah and then I get here at night and I forget. So I'm going to depend on you guys to remind me what I said. So we said 5 ways. You guys tell me what you remember the 5 ways. I think we can tag team it. if we work together, we can get all the 5, inshallah. Who's got 1? Who's got 1? Who remembers 1? Y'all want me to repeat the ayah?
Silver. Silver.
Okay. What about it?
We make the houses stairs.
Okay, yeah. So we'll make their. He said, we would have made the roofs of the homes of those who disbelieve in Ar-Rahman of silver, and likewise given them silver staircases to ascend. But we said this verse, it describes Allah in 5 ways. We mentioned 5 different ways. It describes Allah and speaks about Allah and tells us things about Allah.
Giving wealth,
most merciful, most gracious, in the sense that he knows that if we seen the disbelievers living like this, that the believer will say, "What am I believing for?" And he'll turn.
It will be a huge trial. It will be a huge trial, and many people would disbelieve. And so, out of His mercy, He didn't try us in that way, so that we wouldn't disbelieve. That's 1. So we 1 down, 4 to go.
That Allah's knowledge is all-encompassing.
Allahu
So
Akbar.
He knows what is, what was, and what wasn't. What it was, what it would be.
What it would be. Allahu Akbar. And that was, I saved that one for last because that's like my favorite one. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ikhwan, His knowledge knows no limit. He tells us that, listen, I could have made the roofs of the houses of every kafir and the staircases upon which they ascend to the 2nd floor. I could have made them what? Of precious metal. He gave silver as an example, but if he could do silver, he could also do what? Gold, platinum. He could embroider it with rubies. He could do all that. But he didn't. But he's saying, if I had, they would have been ummatan wahidatan ala al-kufr. They would have all disbelieved. It didn't happen. But if it had, this is what would have happened. Allahu Akbar. And so we saying what this teaches, look, a Lord like this, with this level of knowledge, a knowledge which is unlimited. Where can you go? Where can you hide? Where can you sin and not have it detected? And this is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, it's something we have to sit with when it's ta'ammal. We have to really, really reflect upon that. Think about the verse where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يَعْلَمُ خَائِنَةَ الْأَعْيُنِ وَمَا تُخْفِي الصُّدُورِ. He says, He knows the treachery of the eyes and what the hearts conceal. Yeah, Juan, anybody who's like done any study like psychology and sociology and how people get on, one of the things they talk about is how people wear masks, right? And they talk about this sociopath mentality. How people are able to go to a job interview and present in a way that will convince you to hire her, right? They can meet a woman and interact with her in a way to convince her to marry them. They can basically pretend, they can put on an act. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, listen, you can fool some of the people all the time. You can fool all the people some of the time. But you can't fool Allah any of the time. And so basically, some people, they spend a lot of time trying to appear like they're good people. Like appear like they're honest. Appear like they're compassionate. Appear like they're empathetic. Instead of just what? Doing the work to be what? To be honest and to be truly empathetic. And Allah knows what you are concealing from everybody else and fooling people into believing about you. Allah knows it's not true. Y'all see that? This is very important for the believer to realize. So that's number 2. Number 3, 4, 5. We got 3 more left.
one of them was like, doing his work, not.
Ahsant. Yes. He said, listen, if people wouldn't disbelieve, I would what? I would give the kuffar everything. Everything their hearts desire. I would give them anything. That shows you Allah puts no stock whatsoever in what? In worldly things. And then we mentioned the hadith where the Prophet said, he said, لو كانت الدنيا تعدل عند الله جناح بعوضة ما سقى كافر منها شربة ماء. If the dunya was equal in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the wing of a mosquito, how much does a wing of a mosquito weigh? If nothing, if the dunya had that value to Allah, He wouldn't give a kafir a sip of water. Tells you what, no value whatsoever. I'll give them everything for the dunya. And that we talked about this too in the khutbah. We said, listen, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives the dunya to those He loves and who He doesn't love. Don't be fooled. A lot of people think if Allah doesn't give me dunya, ahanani, He's humiliated me. No. Allah gives the dunya to those He loves, those He doesn't love. But He only gives the deen to those He loves. So that's 3 down, 2 to go. It's going to get harder now though. تفضلي. Hey, He's in control of our rizq, definitely. No, definitely. I'm gonna take that as number 4. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does what? He withholds. He withholds from some people for their benefit. Because some people, if Allah gave them riches, they would disbelieve. He withholds from some people for their benefit. To benefit you. Sometimes people think, oh, woe is me, I don't have this, I don't have that. Sometimes we're deprived certain things because if we did it, it would make us what? It would make us disbelieve. As the Prophet said in the hadith, it would make us worship the dunya instead of worshiping Allah. Ta'isa abdul dirham, Ta'isa abdul dinar, Ta'isa abdul dirham, right? He said, woe to the worshiper of the dollar, woe to the worshiper of the cent. Allah is protecting some people from suffering this fate by what? By withholding. Got one left. One left. Just contemplate. He said, that was the second khutbah. Second khutbah. But one left, he said, listen, he said, He would have made the roofs of the homes of those who disbelieve in Ar-Rahman of silver. And He would have made their staircases of some other precious metal or silver, right? And so what does that tell you about Allah's qudrah, about His ability, His capability? He's capable of what? Of all things. If you can think it, and if you can't think it, He's capable of all things. Which means we get in these situations where it's like, man, I'm in a jam. There's no way out of it. It's impossible. Is it appropriate for a believer to say that? Nothing's impossible for who? Allah, nothing. So what does a Muslim do? He gets in a real bad jam. He raises his hands to the heaven and he prays to Allah with conviction. Allahumma ja'alni min kulli dhiqin makhrajan warzuqni min haythu la ahtasib. I don't know where it's going to come from, but you do. Because you have the power to do all things. Y'all see that? So those were 5. I'm going to give you 2 other ones that came to my mind, and you guys might have others that come to your mind, but one of the things that came to my mind that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us or teaching us in this ayah is that one of His names is Ar-Rahman. He says, وَلَوْلَا أَنَّ النَّاسَ وَلَوْلَا أَنْ يَكُونَ النَّاسَ أُمَّةً وَاحِدَةً لَجَعَلْنَا لِمَنْ يَكْفُرُ بِالرَّحْمَنِ. We would have made for those who disbelieve in Ar-Rahman. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in another chapter, He says, وَهُمْ يَكْفُرُونَ بِالرَّحْمَنِ. And they disbelieve in Ar-Rahman. He's talking about who? Ahl Makkah. Talking about the pagans of Jahiliyyah during the Prophet's time. And there are a couple of examples. This is the only name of Allah that the pagans disbelieved in. The Quran is full of the names of Allah, and the Prophet ﷺ was overheard by the pagans reciting different names of Allah. They concurred with all of those. They accepted all of those. Except what? Ar-Rahman. And there are a couple of instances where when he said Ar-Rahman, they pushed back. And that led to the revelation of this verse, وَهُمْ يَكْفُرُونَ بِالرَّحْمَنِ. They disbelieve in Ar-Rahman. So in one case, famously, the Prophet ﷺ, when he went for the first Umrah after Hijrah, and he was basically banned, and he and his companions were banned from entering Mecca and performing the Umrah, they sat in a place called Al-Hudaybiyah. And they sent a few emissaries to try to negotiate some type of peace with the people of Mecca and to facilitate the performance of Umrah. And that went on for a few days, and then ultimately, the Quraysh, they sent an emissary. Or they sent, a group of negotiators headed by Suhail ibn Amr. So when they came, they said, we're gonna write a sulh. And they told the Prophet to dictate the terms, right? So the Prophet turns to his scribe, Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu, and he told him, he said, Uktub Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. He told him, write in the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, Ar-Rahman. So then that emissary or that group of ambassadors from Quraysh, they said, La na'rif Ar-Rahman. Right? إنما نعرف رحمن اليمامة يعنون مسيلمة الكذاب. They said, we don't know who this Ar-Rahman is. We never heard of that before. The only Rahman we know is the one from Al-Yamama, and they meant Musaylim al-Kadhab, the false prophet. That's the only one we know. They said, Ubtu kama kana abuka yaktub. Bismika Allahumma. Write in your name, Allah. That's it. Y'all see that? So I say all this to say is that coming back full circle, one of the names of Allah is Ar-Rahman, and we see that from the surah, or from the ayah. The last thing I'll mention from the ayah is that we see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not pleased with the disbelief of the disbelievers. He doesn't want people to disbelieve, and when they disbelieve, that doesn't please him. Right? And he does want to avoid it whenever it can be avoided, because he says, لولا أن يكون الناس أمة واحدة على الكفر. Okay, in order to avoid all the people being kuffar, that Allah doesn't, and he says in the other verse, I believe in Surah Al-Zumar, he says, وَلَا يَرْضَى لِعِبَادِهِ الْكُفْرِ. Allah does not like kufr or disbelief for his servants. And with that, that pretty much concludes what I wanted to add or contribute to the first khutbah. And the second khutbah, you guys all know what it contained. I won't revisit that per se, but I will offer the opportunity if people want to comment or people want to ask questions, provided there's some questions I won't entertain. I'll be honest about that. But if it's not a question I feel is like too intrusive or it's just not appropriate for a public setting, we can take those questions and comments about the second khutbah or questions about the first one.
I got one about the first one.
Okay.
There's like balance also in it, because Allah states that he's going to give the disbelievers, he would have given them, the dunya.
Mm-hmm.
And then the believers, because he loves us, he will give us after.
MashaAllah. Exactly.
And then there's a balance of it, because also at the same time, you can see that here in this life, and this is where you're at right now.
Hey.
So then that's part of the test, and then the test on the other end, you got to hold on to that.
Ahsant. To have faith, I really believe that al-aqiba lil-muttaqeen. I really believe that the end result, there is something called a next life, and in the next life, things are going to be better for me. I have to believe that, right? To basically navigate this experience, the experience of a lot of extremely wealthy people, inordinately wealthy people are either disbelievers or they're fusaq. They're people who they don't worship Allah. They're not obedient. They're wicked. They do bad things. And so it's easy for a person, like you said, to kind of succumb. But the faith is what gets us through, what has to get us through. And so, there's a balance. Jazakallah khair, Shilva. That's a very good one. That's not copyrighted, is it? No. Okay, I just all right, anybody else? Tafadhal, Abdul Malik.
When you said the words of Allah is everywhere, that really touched me. My takeaway was I sat in my car for almost 45 minutes, and it really brought a tear to my eye, because it made me think that I'm not going to anybody else, but I'm not doing enough for this community. This is coming from my heart. That's how I feel. I don't have the ability or the capability to do certain things because my health is not good. Mm-hmm. But what I thought about was that collectively we could all get it done. Mm-hmm. And I feel as though we shouldn't be fussing, complaining, none of that. We know that Allah is everywhere and we're supposed to be doing what we're supposed to be doing. What is our problem? Mm-hmm. We should get it together. This is not hard. We know why He created us. He's testing us. And let me tell you something, I take 100 pills a week.
Oh,
100 pills a week.
Allah yashfik, ya Sheikh. Allah yashfik you a week.
I got a container. If I were to show you these pills, you might think I'm dying tomorrow, tonight. But I say, alhamdulillah, you see? And I don't have any problems. I pride myself on that. I tell my family, we don't have problems. Whatever comes our way, Allah sent it for a reason. We shouldn't be doing battle with each other, our families, we should be taking care of each other. And I love every one of you all in this room. Feasibilillah. So whatever we can do, remember, I'm from the 60s, so President Kennedy said, that's not what you do for this country, but what the country can do for you. Put that on Islam. What can we do for Islam? What can we do for love? Can we give them a loan like he said? Can we do that? Why not? We should come in. If we don't have anything tangible to give, hey, smile at each other. What's your name? What's your name? Where are you from? My name is X, Y, Z. You see? So we shouldn't be going through anything in here. And I love this man, Feasibilillah. Okay? I love him, Feasibilillah. I tell him all the time. We love him, okay? And we shouldn't be going through anything. We got enough people in this community that if somebody got an issue, we can handle that for you. We can feed you, we can clothe you, we can house you. I know we can. And we got a law on our side, so what is our problem? I love you all. Feasibility.
Jazakallah khair wa nihabbak kaman, Sheikh. We love you as well, Arthur. But I will say one thing, because I just want to kind of piggyback off something that you said I think is important, and it's a very important thing, a small thing, but it's something that we need to do a better job at. And since you mentioned it, I'm going to come and put a stamp on it and kind of underscore it. And that is the importance of just meeting each other biwajhin tariq. Meeting each other with a smile, meeting each other with a happy countenance. And I know that not every day that you wake up and you go to work and go through life, it's not always a happy day. It's not always a good day. But I think that a lot of times, a lot of us go to work and we put on the right face. We go to work with non-Muslims and we put on the right face. We interact with our non-Muslim supervisors, our non-Muslim colleagues, our non-Muslim subordinates. And we find a way to talk to them cordially. We find a way to not have an attitude. We find a way to smile. We find a way to laugh at jokes that we don't find funny. We're able to do all these things at work. And somehow, some way, we come to the masjid and we're with our fellow brothers and sisters. And we're with people who, if we smile in their face, it's a sadaqah. You get a reward for it. And we just can't do it. We just can't do it. And a lot of times, if you were to take a person out of the gym, you take them on the side and you say, hey, I notice every time you interact with so-and-so, you're just like gnashing your teeth. You got this frown. I know that's not you under normal circumstances. That's not your resting face. But I just notice every time you see him. So what is it? What is it about him? You see what I'm saying? And in most cases, it's going to be something petty. It's going to be something trivial. It's not going to be something legitimate. It's not going to be something legitimate. Yeah, Juan, we got to stop. We got to stop. You don't have to love, well, you have to love them spiritually, Islamically, religiously, but you don't have to love them like materially. You have to love them tabi'iyan, right? Some people are like oil and water. We just don't mix. But we can what? I can smile, I can greet you, and I can just keep it moving. I meet some people, man, it's just always like, just gnashing their teeth. And I'm telling you, it's hard, man. And there's like, we talk about these studies and how behavior affects other people. And one of the things that I do for the team building with, I've done this a few times in some of the programs where we're going to have a long road and we're going to be in a lot of people's company, we're going to be in each other's company a lot, and things are not going to always work out, and we're going to get on each other's nerves and people get agitated. I know that. One of the things that I do in the team building, I say, okay, I give everybody like a little cutout man, like a little cutout of a man from paper, right? And I have this list of ibarat, a list of like sayings, right? And some of the sayings are positive, right? You're beautiful, you're smart, you're handsome, you're intelligent, I'm proud of you, etc. And then you have a list of what? Of negative things, right? And sometimes the negative things might be something you say, just might be what? How a person behaves, their behavior. And so I said, every time it's something negative, Something that what? That hurts you or strikes you or upsets you or seems unpleasant, I want you to do what? I give him a pair of scissors. I want you to do what? Cut that man, right? So, a few phrases in, you got people with what? It's a pile of what? Pile of clippings. Y'all see that? This is the reality in real life of how people's behavior around you, it can affect you. It cuts you and cuts you and cuts you until the what? Until you're just a pile of what? Of clippings. That happens enough outside these walls. It shouldn't happen what? In these walls. Y'all see that? And I meant what I said at the end. I meant what I said at the end of the khutbah when I said there's some people, man. There's some people who I meet them and wallahi, their smile, their embrace, their like little jokes, right? It lifts my spirits to the point that it puts gas in my tank. It puts wind in my sails. And I want to say this because there's a lot of people here who are like this with me, and may Allah reward all of them. But I'm going to tell you, this morning I needed that. This man right here, he Jazallah khair, every Friday, after we make Fajr, he sits and reads Quran until the sun rises, and he arranges the chairs the way that we generally set it up so people can sit and not be moving chairs during Jumu'ah. That's what this brother does. May Allah reward him. Amen. And so I usually, what I do is I go in the office and I edit the khutbah and get it the way I want it, and then I head out. So it happened that he was coming out doing his thing. I was coming out this way, and we met in the foyer. And Jazakallah khair, Ma'ruf, you embraced me, man. And the way he embraced me, it was like a mother's hug. And I swear to God, I needed that, Ma'ruf, and Jazakallah khair for doing that for me this morning, brother. I really, really appreciate you. But I'm saying, these are the things. We can do these things for each other. We can and we should. We really, really should. And so I'm glad you said that, Dominic, because I really wanted to expand on that, man, because, the world outside, it beats us down. Let's not beat each other down. Let's lift each other up. And these little things, and I said that too in the khutbah, it's the little things. It's not the big things, it's the little things. Little things, just a kind word. وَكَلِمَةٌ طَيِّبَةٌ وَكَلِمَةٌ طَيِّبَةٌ صَدَقَةٌ. A good word is charity. Tayyib, Elijah, you want to say something?
Yeah.
A question, but not a story, brother. Because you know how you can do, brother. I'm not trying to call you out, brother, but you know how you do, brother.
This is not just me. I was having a conversation with my brother Abdullah right here, our elder Abdullah, and I was speaking to him about how it frustrates me sometimes when I see some of us, we pray Salah, especially at Jummah, and they just get up and they just go. And the first thing they get on is our handheld devices that we all have.
Why do you always fight against the device, brother? Why do you always, you tell us we can't watch TV, you telling us now we can't have cell phones. You want to be Amish, brother. You're trying to bring the Amish lifestyle to come on, man. Why are you doing that to us, Elijah? Brother, we're not going to walk, we're not going to ride around in horses and buggies, brother. You can't just live without these cell phones, brother. Go ahead, Afi, I'm sorry.
But as you say, cut the cell phone off, you know what I'm saying?
I got you.
But not just at prayer, cut the cell phone off 5 minutes after prayer and greet your brother. You know what I'm saying? Sisters, greet your sisters. It's just, Brother Abdullah, what's the word that you said in Arabic about the brotherhood that I was part of the deed? Yeah, Amarat. Right.
Mu'amalat.
Right.
Mu'amalat.
So it's just, I just feel like, really, a lot of this stuff that you talked about in Kupar too, and you gotta give credit where credit's due. You know what I'm saying? In your leadership, we got these programs set up, right? The programs are still here. You know what I'm saying? They're still here. You know what I'm saying? Even you know, regardless of what happens after the day, the programs are still here. You see what I'm saying? So it's our job to continue to keep this moving. And I just want to encourage, you know, that we do just try to make that extra effort, because that extra effort makes a world of difference.
Jazakallah khair, Elijah. Anybody else?
I have a comment.
Who we going first?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, rest for it. Rest for it. تفضل عبد
I'm going
اللطيف.
to take your advice on something you said earlier.
ايه
If we're in a jam, we make dua to Allah.
Hey.
No matter what it is.
ما شاء الله.
I'm in a jam. Maybe we're all in a jam. Because you said you resign.
ايه.
I'm in a jam, brother, you know, and I've seen this community flourish. I've seen it grow from one Jumu'ah to two Jumu'ah. And I've seen people take Shahada, just so many. I can't count.
Jazakallah.
I've lost track. And where do we go from here? And is your resignation under consideration? Is there any way you could possibly change your mind? Is there something we can do?
الله المستعان.
And is there something I can do? أحبك في الله.
جزاك الله خير وأحبك كمان. أحبك الله الذي
There's
أحببتني
something I
فيه.
can do, brother. I am here also. You have my number. Call me. And maybe we all feel the same. I don't know, but brother, I'm here in service. And if there's anything we can do to make you reconsider.
جزاك الله خير
Are you
والله I
open to
appreciate that.
reconsideration? Is this stone? Stone. Is it good team to daylight? But look, brother, I can say
that
this.
is good news.
When you first got up on the member and you started talking, I knew something was not right.
Really?
Yes.
Why?
Absolutely, 100%.
Also obvious.
Why? Why you say that?
I knew it, brother. I know you.
Talking about from the first khutbah or from the second one?
With the first opening.
No way.
Yeah, way.
Well, okay, what showed the hand?
Sure, brother.
What was
I'm
it?
sitting here to mess you. I'm not going to sit here and say
No. Okay, so what was it that in your mind tipped you off? You were like, oh,
You rarely, never, I never hear you make mistakes in your opening. You made several mistakes.
really?
Yes.
Wow.
You said some things that you don't normally say the way you say them.
Mm-hmm.
But you came back and corrected yourself. If you go back and listen to the tape.
Oh, I'm gonna have to listen to it. I didn't realize in the open I made mistakes. Wow.
I'm not calling you out like that.
Oh, you are, but it's fine. I can take it. I can take it.
I'm just saying from that I knew something was not correct. I said, oh, the man must have something on his mind. I thought that for sure.
Wow.
And I said, something must be bothering you. I felt that.
Seem anxious.
And I don't know if anybody else felt that way too.
No, it was clear.
It was
It was clear, yeah.
Oh, see, I'm not the only one.
It was clear.
I'm not
I
the
knew you
only
were
one.
gonna say that. I knew when you start talking, I knew exactly what you were gonna say.
Okay, you knew from in Alhamdulillah, or you knew it from the second?
I knew it from a different point, which I will not tell you why. I knew, but I knew exactly what you were gonna say.
Okay.
What the second one.
Really? You felt it. So you didn't hear the mistakes in the opening. See, alhamdulillah, thank you. Maybe you made mistakes. Maybe it was you. You didn't.
No, yeah, it was observed.
Am I right?
Yeah, you're right.
He's a witness.
He knows you're right.
So what'd you have?
No, you asked a question that is your reservation under consideration or whatever. You've not answered that before I go to my own stuff.
I don't know if I think the train is too far down the track, man. I think the train, and I'm gonna tell you, and I said in the khutbah, I said, listen, there's a method to the madness, right? And one of the things that I did say in the khutbah, there's a lot I didn't say, but I said, what matters to me more than anything is for the community, to be united. And I told you, I said in the khutbah, I just felt like, listen, one of the reasons it's not, and as unfortunate as that is, I hate for that to be the case, is me. Now, you might not feel that, but other people may have a different perspective. And I really, really want, I'm a firm believer in unity and community. I believe that there's too much potential here. There's too many people here sitting on the sidelines. And if they're sitting on the sidelines because of me, then let's get them in the game. And I can just step aside, right? Because we can't sacrifice the whole for an individual. And I won't get into the details, but I have reason to believe, at least what people are saying, whether or not they actually are being honest about that, but time will tell. But people are basically saying, I'm on the sideline because of the imam. Okay, so let's get you in the game then, right? If the imam is not here, then the excuses end, right? Okay, so now there's no excuse. Get in the game, let's get to work, let's roll up our sleeves. There's a lot of work to be done. And so I just feel like I said, I don't want to get into the details, especially in a public setting, but this is not just me speculating because somebody gnashes their teeth at me. This is something that people are saying, and it's coming to me, and it's coming repeatedly. And how many times can you hear that and just see the lack of productivity, the lack of togetherness, the lack of achieving the potential, and not say, okay, well, what needs to be done? What sacrifice needs to be made? I've thrown everything at the wall to see what would stick, and none of it is getting us where we want to be. So if this is what it takes, I'm willing to make that sacrifice for the community. And I'm not saying this in a roundabout way to pat myself on the back. I'm being real with y'all. I'm being real with the community. Like, hey, if this is what it takes for people to get in the game, okay, I'll step aside. Okay, now there's no more excuses. Let's get it done. Let's get it done. Let's do the work. Let's show up for the programs. Let's participate. Let's volunteer. Because at the end of the day, you can't, and we talked about this as well, you can't do anything without people. You can't do anything without human resources. It's too much work to be done for 1 or 2 people, 3 or 4 people, a group of 7 to 10 people who are always doing everything. They get burnt out, they get overextended, and there's only so much they can do. And so you need more people to what? To get involved. And so that's basically kind of the answer to that question, but we can talk more offline. I think some of these questions are more more appropriate for a more personal interaction. Go ahead, Abdul.
Okay, so I think I will just I'll highlight some points, which is like a general advice and for everyone to think about. Number one is it's only in Islam that people without knowledge argue with people who really are qualified. I mean, I don't know anything about maybe. I'm not a cardiologist. I don't know much about patient having whatever in their heart. So I can't talk about it. And I can argue with a cardiologist on how they should run their things. But in Islam, people that don't even know how to do wudu, they will be arguing with someone who knows more than they do. And that's very disrespectful. So I'll put that as number one. Number two is I think we also need to observe people in terms of if you realize that this person, maybe this is how their countenance is always every day. They like smiling, they like doing this and that, they like being with people. And when you start observing that they are withdrawing, I think it's always right to just try to move closer and ask questions. What's happening? Unfortunately, so I'm just talking in parables, which most of us don't do. Because we don't do it, some people take it for granted and they keep on pressing, putting their leg on the gas and hitting this other person so hard that eventually we are human. At a point we would go beyond our elastic limits and we might break. Specifically, I would mention something. I mean, I wouldn't really mention, but I would say something around it. When someone is a leader of a community, there are some rights that come with it. And one of those rights, especially, like I said, if you have knowledge, you will know being a leader of a masjid puts them ahead of whatever people have a degree or whatever. But you don't just come up, at a point in time and believe at an event we can shortchange the one God to do it for someone else, for whatever reason. And this has happened twice. Alhamdulillah, it won't happen the third time. Because if it happened the third time, I won't take it. But Allah just knows why. And that is what I want some people to take account of. that you are in charge of managing an affair doesn't mean you have the knowledge to manage it Islamically and just put some secular idea into it. I'm trying to watch my words, and the Imam goes too. One other thing I will say is we should also try as a community, when we see that something is not going the right way, we should talk. We shouldn't just let someone be on their own and we will stay and let things get really, really bad. I've not been here for 2 years. But if you go read about me in Alabama, I mean, in one of the masjid that I was, that we were, I mean, there are some things, I mean, I'm really cool right now. I don't take some things, I don't take them lightly. But having been here for less than 2 years, I quickly observed how the environment is and I saw how things were going. And one thing I can say is this, and the Imam might not like this, is they disrespect him too much. And I'm sorry if this is going on camera, but that's the truth. They disrespect him too much. And I've even heard somewhere, I don't know if you want to talk, that some people are having the idea of we were born Muslims. Someone just picked this up on the way. And when we tell them, like in Ramadan, don't announce a missing item. They gave a lecture about it. They told us what Islam says. But some people just feel because they are in the, I don't know, whatever they owe with zero knowledge, they can come out and make those announcements. Going against not whatever the leader said, but going against the Prophet and you have no knowledge, and you are still arguing. A similar example is, it will be time for Jumu'ah. When the Imam comes out for Jumu'ah, when he comes into the masjid, and that's why let's seek knowledge. We can't just be holding positions with zero knowledge. We make a lot of mistakes. When the Imam comes in for Jumu'ah, the first thing he goes to is the minbar. He doesn't sit among the people. And he makes the sleep. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Then he sits. Then the muazzin make the adhan. The Imam will come inside the masjid. People will be making announcements. Announcement for what? At that time, you get off. You let the Imam go in there, make the Muslim sit, then you can start the khutbah. Then after that, you can make your announcement. But that is just sheer disrespect. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, let us seek knowledge. Because with knowledge, you would be able to know the right from the wrong. And lastly, to close up, nobody will be upon the sunnah that you won't see some issues. Because if you're upon the sunnah, there are some things that human beings love to do. I think إِنَّمَا النَّفْسِ لَعَمَّارَةٌ بِالسُّوءِ. The mind of the human, once they are always standing, inclined towards something that is wrong. And when someone tries to put them right, they wouldn't want to take it lightly. Especially where you expect to find wisdom. And what you find there is what? Is ignorance. Look, I have a PhD in civil engineering. I don't have a PhD in whatever anybody has. But that doesn't mean because I have a PhD in civil engineering, I can do everything that has to do with a building. Takhassus, I have a specific place that I'm focused on. So you might have all the qualifications in the world in this thing, but if you're not upon the sunnah, we will call you out. You don't do this regardless of what you have. And with that kind of mindset, we now start to say, some people even say, oh, some citations is good, who cares about that? Your intention is what we want to look at, and be upon the sunnah. And to the leadership, if may Allah make it easy for us to bring whatever any successor, please, I would only advise us to bring someone who's upon the kitab and sunnah. Because if you bring someone who is a mubtadi', who does bid'ah, we will deal with him properly. I mean, you won't make any nonsense comments, when I say nonsense, against the sunnah, on the minbar, I will let you go scot-free. We'll deal with it right there, and you tell us where your evidence is from. Because these environments are environments whereby people don't really understand much of the deal. So don't bring that virus in. Such that everybody would listen and hear something from you, and they will think that is the way. Because we need to trust the one who is talking. And we've seen this out on so many people that some people here reverse so much. Just like some incident that happened at the burial ground, and everybody sat down around the grave and they were doing bid'ah and everybody was smiling about it. Subhanallah. So to the leadership, please, please and please, may Allah guide you right. May Allah keep on supporting you to not make the mistake of bringing someone who is a muqtadi. But if you do, Allahu Alam, I mean, maybe Allah knows best. Subhanakallah wa bihamdika, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.
All right, I don't think anybody wants to follow that.
Yeah. I just wanted to say that I wanted to piggyback on what Brother Malik said. And when you say that everyone can come out the storm, I see people using their phone while they're doing the khutbah, and I have to tap them and say, no, they don't listen. And sometimes I tell myself, I'm gonna go up there, I'm gonna say what I have to say, I'm gonna yell, say some stuff. I mean, they paid that. And you see people still using the phone. While this man says, no phone, no windows, no none of that. They still do it. And I'm like, why? Why do we have a man here that gives us hard time and gives us khutbah, he gives us nasiha, and then everyone's like, yeah, man, I'm okay. I'm gonna use my phone, even though he told me not to. And I put times up. I put it on the chalkboard. Oh, listen. Okay.
Yeah, it's time to go back to that horse and buggy.
Okay, we'll go Hatem and then Abdul Majid. تفضل حاتم.
So just a comment in your announcement for today's studies, you said this evening, join us this evening for our final study. So, Prophet said, he who teaches something good in Islam, then he will have the reward of it. And anyone who imitates him at the day of resurrection. So I don't think this should be the final study. So I think we should encourage any khatib who comes and gives the Friday, if he has time in the evening, to do a study. So,
Jazakallah khair. I appreciate you saying that. That's a good suggestion. You got the perfect man next to you. Maybe he's taking notes of that. The perfect man next to you. Hear that?
I'll go after G.
Okay. تفضل عبد المجيد.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
I don't say piggyback, but I can't think of another word. But maybe to follow up a little bit on Abu Malik, what he's saying. What I've seen is that maybe across the country, there's two different types of masjids. You'll have a masjid that will be very diverse like ours. They're usually larger. And, their emphasis in trying to make unity, they will emphasize the Shira, they'll emphasize Quran, and alhamdulillah, that's very important. And they will de-emphasize Aqidah because they'll feel like when you focus on these things, that makes people fight and it divides them. So you can have all of these people from these different backgrounds, and if you only focus on the biography of the Prophet and the recitation of Quran, it will make unity. And you'll have a lot of strange actions, kind of like what the brother mentioned. And they'll do that, they'll sacrifice and give a false sense of unity and brotherhood, but a lot of things are really wrong. And then you'll have masjids that they'll emphasize Aqidah, but maybe de-emphasize Quran and some other things that are obviously very important. And people maybe can't recite Al-Fatiha or different things. And so it's to have that balance in between. You can't sacrifice the name of unity and have everyone holding hands, having abhorrent belief systems, and I've heard it myself, and from a masjid here in Virginia, an imam would invite churches, and he would invite synagogues, and there would be like, what do you have those classes they have in college, the comparative religion classes and that sort of thing, they'd come. And this individual would talk about things that were ancillary to the deen, like women's rights and stuff like that. But I noticed he never focused on anything on Aqidah, period. So I tried to find a very nice way, a soft way to approach him and say, alhamdulillah, these talks are wonderful. I've listened to many of them. Every time I learn something different. But I noticed you don't even, mention about the Tawheed of Allah, that Allah is one, and, we single him out for worship, etc. And he said that I don't want to impose on the people. And I said, yes, but these people came to the masjid. You didn't go to them. this is a part of their class. They have to go to a synagogue, they have to go to a church and this sort of thing. At which this person, got upset, but it was just an example because this is the same type of mission that wants to emphasize the easy things of the Sirah and the Quran, but nothing with belief. So everything is loosey-goosey. So I hope it doesn't go in a direction. I think it will go in that direction where everyone will do their own thing and it'll be easy and it'll be like, what do you call in the 70s, the flower child kind of mission where anything goes and everyone's doing their own thing and peaceful. And if someone comes in, this person is too strict, then the people will rise up against them, and they'll always say, well, the deen is easy and this sort of thing. They don't want a knowledgeable person that will point out mistakes and with evidence. They don't want to hear it. They want to follow their beliefs and their desires. And, it's a shame, but I really believe that's where the mission is going. They want the false sense, the false unity by not talking about those most important things. Because if your tawheed isn't right, you might not end up in a good place if you die on that. That's very important. So that's that's where I think we're going. It's a shame, but it is what it is.
Inshallah, we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala won't happen. Allah, you wanted to go?
I have something, man. I don't know if I can follow that though, but we get some good people here.
I'm sorry, I'm not putting anybody.
No, you're fine. I have two things on my mind, and I hate to do it to us, but I want to go back to Khutbah 1 and then we'll go to Khutbah 2. Khutbah 1 really resonated with me. It was definitely, I'm not trying to rank you or anything, it's definitely top 5 in the ones that I've heard from you. It was really high. I want to put it in the top 1 or 2. Like, I love it. But to me, it really resonated, especially when you said the blessings and stuff. That you might think something's a blessing, but it's not. So, like, for example, and it really hit home because, we grew up poor. I wish I was like that family. But that family, his son is a doctor, but is now a doctor, and he makes tons of money, but his son is called Samuel.
Wow.
And he might go to 1 and 8 a year. Do I really want to be like that family? Yeah. Or I could have had hair like Muhammad or something. And like with that hair, would I have done something that compromised my I started balding when I was 17. Would that have changed my mom blamed the football helmet.
Really?
When I was in high school. But it's genetics probably. But anyway, that really resonated with me. And that's why I keep telling them, just say alhamdulillah. It's like you break your leg, alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah didn't get cut off.
Hey.
So that's why I just always be alhamdulillah. Be thankful for what you have.
MashaAllah.
So I love that your analogy of the silver and all that. Like if it would have been much harder for us. It's like, no, if I can, So sorry, I know that was
no, exactly. No, we appreciate that. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. Yeah.
And then for the second one, I just wanted to share this because I shared this with you and I shared this with Dr. Jafari. People might not know this. I'm going to share this step before I share the other thing. That the Imam has somebody in particular that comes after every single khutbah and talks to him about every single negative thing or comma he put in the wrong place or whatever. And he annoys the heck out of me, and I'm not even the Imam. But I love the guy. Don't get me wrong. And the Imam has high tolerance for everything. But long story short, he takes it with stride, gives him the time of day and everything. So very, very good on that. I love that about him. But taking that into account and just revolving to what I want to say is there was a study by Walmart that says that you might remember this because I talked to you about it a couple years ago. There's a study by Walmart that says when someone comes to shop at Walmart, if something bad happens to them, they'll tell 7 to 10 people. Right at this age with social media, this is an old study by the way. I think you sell maybe 200 of your social media followers. Well, let's say 10 for the sake of argument. And if something amazing happens at Walmart, I'm not talking about the sour cream that I wanted was in stock and they had a lot. But if something amazing happens, like someone went out of their way and thanked you and opened the door for you, you might tell one, maybe two people. You'll tell your mom, maybe someone in passing. So you gotta look at all the math when you're looking at that. Like, and think about yourself, like when Costco and everybody was running out of paper products, everyone was talking about it. And even if I didn't go to Costco because I didn't, I talked about it at work. And that's what caused the Costco to, but do you go to Costco right now and say how much fruit they have? Nobody talks about how much crates of strawberries they have, even though that's a good thing, right? So nobody talks about the good. So that's why I say, like, if there's something negative, someone says something negative about the imam or you or me, remember that there's probably 10 other people that really appreciate for every negative comment you get, there's at least 10 other people that have positive comments for it. So that's why, but it's draining. It's very draining. The small cuts you spoke about, it really hurt.
You're just a pile of paper. But I do want to speak to what you said. I'm glad you closed the way you did, because I was going to say that human nature, because I think what you're saying is 100% true. There's a lot of people who remain silent.
Yeah.
They don't say anything, but they're happy. I met some of those.
Yeah.
After people I've never seen them before in my life, and they're like, I come here every week.
Yeah.
One brother told me, he said, and again, I'm sharing this as a treating me like a disinterested third party. I'm not saying this kind of low-key pat myself on the back. He said to me, he said, I come here every week. I've never seen him before. He said, I come here every week. He said, I love your khutbahs. He said, after every khutbah, he said, I promise you, every khutbah, I call my dad and I tell him what you said. And he said, I send him your videos. The videos, of course, I send him your videos, blah, blah, blah. He like really went in. I said, what's your name? He said, my name is Rayyan. Never saw him before in my life. So I think what you're saying is 100% true. But two things I'm going to say to that. One, I don't hear from these people. You see what I'm saying? I don't hear from these people, but I do hear from people, like you said, hey, you should have put a comment, right? Instead of semicolon. I hear from those people. I hear from them. I hear from them, right? I hear from them a lot. That's one. Number two is that some people, when they come to me and they share akhbar, I kind of alluded to the fact that people are telling me things. One person he told me, he said, I'm going to share this just because it needs to be shared. He told me, he said, I talked with so-and-so, and they said they talked to many people, and they said we need to get rid of you now. This person told me that this person who told them talked to many people, and they're all saying this. They're all saying this. Now, people have a tendency to say that people are saying, they're all saying. They exaggerate. I understand that happens. I'm not dumb. At the same time, why did he tell me that? How is that going to benefit me? Wallahi baqit ayyam hazeen. And my wife knows. Sad, just in a funk. Why? What did I do? What crime did I commit? We need to get rid of him. Am I negligent? Do I not come for prayers? Do I not come for Jumu'ah? Have I missed the Jumu'ah? Ever? When I wasn't on vacation? Have I inappropriately touched a child? Have I cursed somebody? Have I gotten into a fight with somebody? What have I done? I don't deserve to be here. I don't deserve my position. I should be relieved of my duties. I was crushed, and it's not just the fact that people are saying this out of all the things that the person could have told me. Sometimes not everything that you know needs to be said, but he saw fit to tell me, and it crushed me. I had to put on a smile. I had to like lighten the mood and act like laugh it off. And after we parted ways, I was just for days, man. I wasn't right, and some of y'all know because y'all would come to me and say, "What's wrong? You don't seem the same. What's wrong? You just withdrawn. You're not the same. You don't have the same pep in your step." Well, how do I have pep in my step? Somebody's saying, "Hey," they're saying. They is at least 3, right? And why are they saying that? And if you have a complaint, I'm right here. I'm right here. Somebody can come and say, "Hey, you make Maghrib too long." And people said it. When I first came, Maghrib was too long. Well, how long is Maghrib now? How long is it now?
4 minutes, 5 minutes.
Huh? Qis al-mufassal.
The first
It-
make it long so we can catch up.
Right. But if anybody is honest, they'll say, Shatan. It's totally different. Qisr al-Mufassal. That's all he does. Qisr al-Mufassal. He's got a playlist, and he keeps doing what? Keeps rotating that playlist. Qisr al-Mufassal. طيب تطول في العشاء. Isha is too long. Okay? And Isha is supposed to be longer than Maghrib. Right? Medium suwar. Right? But if I speak over, we're supposed to pray at and you're gonna see this now. We're supposed to pray 9:15. I go 9:20. I went over. I say نخفف العشاء. Don't I? إنا أعطينك الكوثر. Right? قل هو الله أحد. خفيف للغاية. And the only prayer أطول فيها is صلاة الفجر. So if you came, سأضربك. You know, saying you came, you chose to come, so it's going to be long. And even then, it ain't super long. I'll do a page and a quarter. I'm listening. I listen, but people don't talk. People talk about me, but they don't talk to me. How can I fix whatever it is? But instead somebody comes, so that's one thing. People just, they're talking about you. Nobody comes to you. So you can fix whatever's broken, and then people will come. Man, it would have been so much better if that person just did what? Took whatever they said, folded up and put it in his pocket. But he saw fit to what? Tell me. Then he followed up with something else, right? As if he didn't give me enough castor oil. Say, I got another story for you. Said something else. I won't even share what he said, but it was again something negative along those lines. You can't do. I'm not going to tell you who said it, but as I said, because we need to pray. I'm keeping y'all late, huh? So I say all this to say is that you're 100% right. That, and I tried that. After you told me that, I really tried. But you get to a certain point where you just hear so much negative. People are withdrawn, and you just what? You kind of cave. I'm sorry. I really am sorry, because I wanted to see it through. I wanted to see it through with you. And as I said, there's a lot of great people here who lifted me up, and I'm going to meet each one of them, and I'm going to tell them how much I appreciated them. I'm going to make it a point. And so I really wanted to see it through. I'm sorry. I really am sorry if I let anybody down, let all of you down. I get to a point where it's just like I can't. So with that, because we're late, and this man's going to get mad. You see him over there. Look at him. So we're going to pray. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa barak Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajmain. Wa jazakumullah khairan.
Much better. This one?
No, it was.